Laura, I think we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, sounds good. Good afternoon. Most of you are familiar with the program called Meaningful Use from several years back. They have simply renamed it. It's now called Promoting Interoperability, or the PI program for Medicaid. Very similar to what we did in 16 and 17 that we tried to do in 18, 19, but were unable to receive reports from our system. So there's 8 objectives again this year. Everything from portal use that you're used to, those still apply. Sending messages to your portal patients, signing off your account. I'm sorry?
Hi, 12:30 and it's calling.
Can you say that again?
I think she wasn't on mute. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Signing off on encounters timely. I believe our requirement is 24 hours. If you sign your encounters notes within 24 hours, they will be sent to the portal for portal patients and will count towards your objective for making health information available to your patients in a timely manner. We do realize there's an issue right now with getting enough people signed up to the portal. We do have a plan that we are working on for that, to do mass invites for patients on your calendar between October and end of December. We're simply waiting on approval from legal for that. So currently Jeffrey is in charge of our Meaningful Use PI program. He's running reports out of Entergy for those. And starting hopefully next week, y'all will start to see those report cards once we get this form in place that Tammy's going to talk about. But basically, it's the same thing. You've got to use your you've got to review your medications. You have to do your blood pressure referrals. You have to send patient education to your portal patients. So there are, of course, the same 8 objectives. Covers electronic prescribing, clinical decision support, which is the CQMs, which are related to this form that we're going to show you. Coordination of care, health information exchange, the public health and clinical data registry reporting is something we're working on now for a CDR. For public health, we are in testing with links. So that will qualify. The referral piece, we have run reports, and most of you are exempt from the referral requirements at this time because you have done less than 100 referrals out and you have received less than 100. So there are exemptions involved, and you'll be able to see those on your scorecards. I'll pull one up just so you can see what it looks like. So here is a composite scorecard. This is for the CQMs, which is the clinical quality measures. Shows blood pressure screening, documentation of current medications. We have to report on 6. So currently the system's only tracking 2 with the way that we do our workflows. Here you see the regular objectives. Objective 2, of course, is your electronic prescribing. Y'all are all doing really great with that. Computerized order for medications. Everybody's doing great on that. We are working on a solution for the labs. Since we don't have an interface, we do not have one yet. Patient-specific education, view, download, transmit. These objectives here in Objective 5 are all related to portal patients. So if you don't have any portal patients yet, you really can't meet this measure. So that's why we're trying to come up with a plan to do a mass invite. Health information exchange, as I said, is one that you'll be exempt from because you don't do enough referrals. So you'll start seeing this scorecard going out once we start using that form. Anything that's highlighted in red is not meeting that measure. And I do have a tracking spreadsheet that explains each of these objectives, and we will include that when we send out the first set of reports, so that if you have any questions, you can let us know. But the objectives will all be explained on that spreadsheet. Is there anything else you want me to cover for general
So just real
PI?
quick, Stephanie had a really good question. We know that, after the PAP results come back, the nurses have to reopen the note and document the lab result for the PAP. And then it might sit in the open box, on their open encounters, open notes to be re-signed off. If that takes longer than 24 hours for that second note to be signed off again, will that impact meaningful use, or is it just the first time that it gets signed off?
My understanding from what I read in the release notes, that was actually a fix they put in, because originally they were overriding the close time. So that, of course, was taking all those people out of meaningful use. Now they are saving the history of when that note was actually closed. So that should not affect that encounter qualifying you for meaningful use, as long as it was originally signed off within the correct amount of time.
Okay. And just as a reminder, when you go to your My Day summary page, I'm going to share my screen just real quick.
Yeah,
Make sure that you have the view right here under summary, where it's got your patient appointments, your task, or whatever you have here to do, and then all of your open notes. And then that way, if you're clearing this out every day, even those ones that are reopened to have additional lab put in or whatever, you're still seeing them and still closing them off in a timely manner. Any other questions anybody has? No? Okay.
Not seeing a lot of patients because of the shelter and other activities. I was on that list of people for meaningful use. Am I still on it, or did I just drop out, or what's the deal?
No, you are still on it, Dr. Holcomb. If you have the ability to get in and see a couple Medicaid patients, we would encourage you to do that. But we also realize you're running a region and a shelter. So.
Well, the shelter finally closed, so I mean, I don't have that excuse anymore. But they'll put me in to see somebody if that's going to be helpful in any way.
Oh, it absolutely would be. And
okay, well,
I guess one of the things, I'll talk with Charlotte or someone else up there, because once you see somebody, we know that you usually aren't working off your own schedule. So we'll have to figure out a way to pull your reports, because those are all pulled by the schedules.
Yeah, well, unless somebody's gone, and then now with all the telemedicine and all that, I'm not cross-covering as much, because some of that is being shifted away to other regions if neither of our APRN is available. But it's all upside down now.
Absolutely. I will get with you at a time that's convenient for you, and we'll kind of just talk about what these objectives are, and maybe what we can do to help you meet that.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty familiar with what they all were, but it's just not seeing any patients at all has made it very difficult to
Absolutely. You're right about that.
And Laura,
Okay.
I'm not sure of the minimum amount of patients that a person would have to see in a quarter in order to meet meaningful use. Is there a minimum, like 30 or something like that?
Nope.
Okay.
Originally, it was just that 30% of your volume of patients had to be Medicaid. I would imagine that still applies. But if you see one patient and you meet all the measures on that one patient, and that's the only patient you see in a quarter, you still qualify.
Wow. Don't you get money from this?
That's the story. We keep hearing there's money involved, but we haven't seen it in a while. So.
All right, I'll have to work this out with Charlotte, and you know, it's not that big a deal if I can see a handful of patients every once in a while. It helps you guys out.
Absolutely, and if it's, you know, we'll find you a Medicaid patient with a portal, that would be fantastic. So I could certainly chat with Charlotte about it as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Laura, we had another question from Brandy. How do we check our own report card? Can you show us how to see? Is that something that they can access?
Report cards are not in Entergy. They're actually in Practice Analytics. That's why we're running them and sending them out.
How often are you going to send them out?
Our plan was to do it weekly unless they want to see that more often.
Okay, cool. So any
I
other
figure
questions?
weekly through November, and then in December, if we need to push that up and do it more often, we certainly can.
I love that idea.
It's going to take us a while to get this portal plan out, and without the portal patients, you're not going to see a whole lot of changes except the CQMs from that form. So
Right. So one of the things that I wanted to go over now, I'm going to share my screen again, is you know, there's a lot of things that's happening on the backside that Laura's pulling the data, but the things that normally would be pulled for meaningful use is using Entergy's templates to document. And as you know, we don't use Entergy's templates to document. So we have to find a workaround for that. I want to show you what we've come up with. And I think it's probably the easiest way. Anybody that was on that email that I sent out is eligible for meaningful use. And again, that's Deborah. I'm sorry, not Deborah. It's Paige, Morgan, Dr. Holcomb, Phoebe, Stephanie, Shelly, Gina, Brandy, Tammy Trainer. Those are the ones that are eligible for meaningful use and the ones that we're going to need you to do this form on your patients. To get to the form, so you go to note, and I'm going to amend this encounter. On your reproductive health clinical form, we have linked the Medicaid PI here at the bottom right. And so for all those nurse practitioners that I just listed and Dr. Holcomb, you'll go down here to the Medicaid form, answer your questions on current medication if you've assessed the medications, and then blood pressure, these questions here, women's screening, flu shot, tobacco use, and BMI. Once you answer those questions, then you can go back to, I'll add a button here that says go back to the main form, but then you can go back to whatever QFP type of visit that you're seeing in the clinic that is, and then it'll pull up your regular form. So is there any questions on how you're going to document a little differently, because we're trying to meet that Medicaid promoting interoperability?
You didn't save that document before you went back. Is that right?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I didn't mark anything. So once you mark it, I would go ahead and save it, and then come over and go to your last form and pick whichever one it is. I'm not sure if you check it, if you go to last form, if it'll prompt you. It didn't. Let me see if it saved it. Yeah, it saved it. It saved it. And we recommend, tell me if I'm wrong. Now, we were asking the nurse practitioners to do this on each patient that they see. Is this correct? Or only Medicaid patients? Laura, are you there?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were asking me. My understanding is it's all patients.
I understood it was all patients as well. Yeah. Telehealth and in person, yes. Okay.
And the, all of these CQMs and objectives apply whether or not they're Medicaid. The only reason they're tracking your Medicaid patients is to ensure that you see at least 30% of your patients are Medicaid. That's what qualified you for the program.
Right. But we're going to do these measures on any patient that you see. Just go to this form. And it looks very daunting, but it's really about 5 questions. You just click through the tabs and then you go into your regular form. And yes, please start immediately. One of the reasons why some of those are highlighted in red is because it's pulling from the wrong area, and it looks like you haven't seen any patients and haven't documented this information. But if we don't use this Medicaid PI form here, it's not pulling it from the right areas. So please start this immediately with your patients. Any other questions, concerns? Deborah, Tisha, Laura, anything?
I don't have anything, Tammy. I do think it's timely to go over this and and like you just said, it looks like a lot, feels like, oh my gosh, all this stuff. A lot of it you're probably doing. It's really a matter of making sure that it's documented and you're getting credit for what you're probably already doing, and then maybe finding where the gaps are, which hopefully are not a lot.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, y'all, we can get some time back in our day.
Stephanie
Can
wants to
you,
see the questions
hey,
again,
okay.
Tammy.
Can you pull that form back up?
Yes.
It looks really complicated, but there is a lot of stuff that doesn't even apply to what we do. So once you learn what these check boxes are, you want to kind of go over them, Tammy?
So yeah, if the patient's 18 or older, that's when you will assess if the medications were documented or not documented. If they were not documented, you just select no and you come down and say the reason. Usually it's contraindicated here. That's really all they got. But as you know, we're already going to this medication tab and we're going over their medications, even if they're 18 and younger, you know? So we're already doing this with all of our patients. So this should be an automatic yes. Blood pressure. This is wanting to know if your blood pressure was done on those 18 and older. And then if it was done, what is recommended? And then if you give any patient education, you know, that handout that we have built into EHR about elevated blood pressure and a referral or lifestyle changes, you know, do that. Click no if no test was performed and select the reason. So for those telehealth patients, we're going to select no blood pressure check. And then we're going to probably say system reason because they're not here in person. They're not where we can get a blood pressure for that. Otherwise, if they're in person, we're going to click, we're just going to follow up. If they're normal and in person and the blood pressure is normal, we're going to check that we're going to just follow up with them in a year. For women's screening, this is according to the U.S. Preventive Task Force, where the 51 to 74-year-olds are the ones we're screening for mammograms. And so you would just fill out the appropriate thing there. Cervical cancer screening is for those 23 to 64. If they've ever had an abnormal PAP, their last PAP. And then the vaginal PAPs we don't usually do a lot of those. That's typically done if they have a history of DES exposure in utero, and if they've had a hysterectomy due to cervical cancer. So not often that those are done, but definitely we'll need to fill out these 2 blocks. And then the same thing for those that we are doing co-testing, they want to know about the HPV. If they've ever had a history of a cervical smear with HPV, and then when the last one was. Flu shot, did we give a flu shot? And then if we can't, if it's no, then we say, was it contraindicated or patient refused? I'm sorry, not necessarily did they have a flu shot? And then if they did, great. But if not, then check that box. Tobacco, this is just asking about that you did, and this is always going to be a yes because this is in our other form. We're asking them if they smoke. And then this is if you do any intervention counseling, give them the 1-800 number to the smoking cessation line. Any interventions, and then this is the smoking status that is current, what they say is current. BMI should be automatically calculated in your vital signs if you're putting in your height, weight together. But and then you look at that BMI and fill this out if they're 18-year-old. Any questions? So, oh, Brandy, I see that you asked if your nurse completes this form for you. Yes, that is fine. Because it doesn't matter who fills out all of these forms. You are, as the nurse practitioner, are responsible when you sign it off. You're saying you agree with everything that was keyed into that form. Okay. Any questions on the forms or? Yeah. And hopefully as you start doing this form, we're going to start seeing an uptick in those red lines going to more of a black line that shows that it's been done. I know it's Friday. That's all I have. If y'all don't have any other questions. Let's see, I see Laura said one thing. So next year, we'll also be reporting on a 90-day reporting period. So if you meet I keep calling it meaningful use, but if you meet these requirements between January and March, then that's awesome. You've already met, and that's good. And then next year is the last year for that program. Okay. So any final comments, Laura, Daniela?
None for me. Great job, guys.
I just want to thank all of you for your hard work. I know this is just one more thing you didn't need, but we just can't figure out another way to track it in this system. So we appreciate if y'all would just help us get through this, basically. I know y'all got full plates. So like I said, if we had any other way to pull these, we would certainly do that. But at this point, with the deadlines we're up against, this is our only solution. So thank y'all for your patience with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. All right. Well, I will end the meeting now, and happy Friday and have a great weekend.